There was no chance that if I was there, we would have been on that plane. You know what I'm saying? So it would have never happened that way.
Even though it's been 2 decades, the hurt from Aaliyah's death still stings so much. Compared to the rest of the R&B scene, there are certain artists who wouldn't even exist if she hadn't paved the way for them back in the early thousands. After all, she is remembered as the princess of R&B. Now that time has passed, though, Damon Dash has started to come forward to reveal some shocking details about Aaliyah's death. You gotta understand that towards the end of her life, Dame and Aaliyah were almost inseparable, almost like they were a married couple without actually tying the knot.
It's almost amazing to me that I'm the guy that was with Aaliyah.
Do you think you would have married her one day?
Yeah.
Now that some time has passed since her passing, Dame seems to be more infuriated about what led up to her plane crashing than her actually not being here anymore. Dame is more torn up about what happened the day that we lost Aaliyah in that fatal plane crash. On the day of her demise, Aaliyah was originally filming a video for her song, Rock the Boat, when she had some reservations about the plane's engines being faulty. Around the time that she was wrapping things up, Dame couldn't get in contact with her since he was at home trying to make ends meet as a single father. Talking about it now, though, he was already having some disagreements with video director Hype Williams, who seemed not to really care too much about the safety of the plane. Damon revealed that Aaliyah always had fear of flying, but before she boarded the plane that ultimately became the cause of her death, there was something different about it. After the video shoot wrapped, Dame recalls getting different texts from her where she wasn't comfortable. As Dame tells it, she said, "I don't like this plane." I was like, "Well, don't get on it." She was like, "Well, I got to because I got work to do." You could call it just a perfect storm of bad decisions for Aaliyah to meet her end that way. But Dame is sure that this whole thing could have been avoided. Speaking out now, Dame has said that before she was even getting in the plane, that there was a good possibility she didn't even need to. Before the shoot even started, Aaliyah had the opportunity to use Lenny Kravitz's jet, only to have Hype swoop it up at the last minute. If we lived in a different world, chances are Aaliyah would still be alive today if she would have just taken a plane Lenny offered her. Dame did end up talking to Hype about whether or not the plane situation could have been avoided, but he's been pleading the fifth on that for a while. Apparently, if we want to know anything about what went down, we're gonna have to hear it from Hype instead of Dame. Maybe it's because he wants Hype to fess up to taking the plane out of Aaliyah's hands, or maybe it's because it's too painful for him to talk about right now. Because this isn't the first time that Dame has had to deal with harsh emotions when talking about Aaliyah. Up until her death, Dame was seriously considering marrying Aaliyah, and she had even taken his sons under her wing and encouraged them to create music of their own. And it's not just about Hype Williams. Dash even spilled some beans on Aaliyah's very troubled relationship with R. Kelly. If you know anything about Aaliyah's love life, though, it does get a little bit sticky there as well. The entire concept of Aaliyah-Kelly relationship wasn't the best even during the good times. We have Kelly marrying her at just 15 years old. And now we also have the added fact that he married her specifically to keep her from testifying in court that she was pregnant. Then again, Dame was never shy when it came to spilling the beans there.
I raped my girl that he liked as well, right?
Right.
And then went on a tour with him.
Talking about Aaliyah's past, you can tell that Dame is holding nothing back, being extremely candid about everything that Aaliyah told him. From the pregnancy to the different hang-ups that happened every day, Dame was always there to get the full story from her. I mean, the man was on the documentary Surviving R. Kelly for a reason. You don't go on something like that just because you don't like somebody. To him, this man is a monster who really needs to be exposed for what he did. If you ask Dame what was on his mind, he was just shocked that the allegations against Kelly didn't happen sooner. Considering how long this kind of thing had been going on, Dame thinks that there is no reason for him to have gotten away with the whole thing and no one calling him out until now. Despite having the power to nab Kelly back in the early thousands, he didn't do it for the sake of Aaliyah. Dame never really liked to mention it to Aaliyah if he didn't have to. For as long as they were together, Dame said he would bring it up occasionally until it got too painful for her to talk about. It makes sense, too. I mean, if you had to deal with somebody like R. Kelly from an early age, you're not going to want to play with that fire ever again. Outside of the feuding, Dame admits that he regrets a lot of the behavior that he was up to in the wake of his girlfriend's death. After losing both his mother and Aaliyah in such a short time frame, he credits their deaths with turning him into a monster. During the next few years, Dame has talked about being fearless in everything he did, which led him to having absolutely no compassion for anyone else in his life. By his own admission, he had dealt through this pain. So why can't everyone else?
But what Aaliyah liked about me and what she loved about me was the fact that I had strength and I learned to live with my obstacles and deal with it. So, I know that she wouldn't have seen anything in me if she didn't see the strength to get through it.
Since the man has seen more pain and agony than any other person should experience at that age, it's a miracle that he isn't more torn up about it these days, to be honest. Because this wasn't just some fly-by-night romance or anything. From what he's been saying lately, Dame seemed to have found a soulmate in Aaliyah, and he probably would have been a family man a lot sooner. He also guarantees that if his girl was still around today, she would be changing the face of music still. It's not like he's necessarily wrong either. I mean, given the hype that her posthumous albums have gotten over the last few years, it sounds like the entire world could use a lot more Aaliyah in their life. While the ball is in Hype Williams' court right now, there's no chance that the man will willingly admit to playing a part in the death of Aaliyah. Even with it being 20 years old, it's still too soon for any of the fans to process. It's not like Dame is afraid to say his piece on the matter, though. During an interview with Entertainment Tonight, he said that he isn't ashamed of getting emotional about his relationship with Aaliyah, since he knows how much it hurts him inside and wants the world to know how he really felt about the woman who changed his life. When you look back at Dame now, though, you can still tell that there is a lot of anger there, whether it be directed at R. Kelly or Hype Williams. No matter what you end up doing in life, you're always going to want to go to bat for the people that you love. And to see both these men walking around without a care in the world had to be a little hard for Dame to watch. At the same time, Dame doesn't come off as a confrontational anymore either. After all, this dude is now a single father and wants to do everything he can to do right by his kids. His days of openly threatening people in public are probably long past him. Being a fan of Aaliyah as much as he was a friend, he just considers himself lucky to have even known a woman like her and to have the opportunity to be romantically involved, if only for a little bit. Still, it has to be tough knowing that something else might have been going on the day that plane went down. If we want to know anything about that, though, we'll just have to wait with bated breath until Hype finally decides to break his silence on the whole thing. As far as the hip-hop community is concerned, we've waited long enough to know what happened. From the sound of Dame, it's not like he doesn't want to talk about it. He just doesn't think that he's the one to do it. Even though he has the opportunity to say something, he figures that it's better to stay quiet out of reverence for Aaliyah's legacy. In his eyes, we should remember her for the music that she made, not so much the stuff that led to her death. This woman should be known for songs like 1 in a Million, not just as the one R&B singer who died in a plane crash. But what do you think about the whole thing? Do you think the hype has something to do with Aaliyah's death, or do you think that it was just a freak accident that went wrong? Also, what do you think about Dame not speaking out about what might have happened? Be sure to leave a comment and let everyone know. Also, since it's been 20 years this year, be sure to blast some Aaliyah in the next few days. It's only fair to acknowledge one of the true queens of hip-hop and R&B. Be sure to like and subscribe too so you don't miss out on the best that RIZZLE has to offer these days. Take it easy and rest in power, Aaliyah. And the rest of y'all, keep it RIZZLE.